Welcome back to Spirits of Steel. Now, as you guys can see, this is not the 1444 map. This is actually a 1500 map, which I think is better for this in general because it's giving us lands to colonize. It's giving us realistic lands to colonize. Essentially, we're not going into the middle of the Amazon for no reason. Australia is still around. That's fine, even though it wasn't discovered for a couple hundred years. That's fine. So today we are playing as the Netherlands, and we have a grand total of 3 divisions. Now that is absolutely terrible, and we do not even have a single city to expand from. If we lose this one city, or not this one city, one tile, we lose this. So now, what cities are there that the Netherlands can grab, you might ask? Well, let's take a little bit of a look around the globe, since it may or may not be the very beginning of the colonial age in 1500 now. So that's what we're going to be doing in this map, essentially, just colonizing. And then we'll try to get some expansion done over back in Europe and see what comes of that too. Alright, so we don't actually have that many good avenues of expansion in Europe proper. I think... Alright, let's get one of our troops into the sea right here. Let's pause game. I think that the Danish Republic, or Holstein, I guess, would be, is probably our best move to expand into. It gives us 4 more divisions, which is good. It's not great. It's good, though. It's still a start, and it's still something for the sake of this challenge. And right now, we still do not have a city from all of that, and every troop really does matter. So now we have a total of 7 divisions, which, again, that's not going to be all too helpful, but it'll be helpful enough for the purposes of this run, or at least to start us off. Alright, so when you guys think of Dutch colonies, if you're into history, you guys are probably going to think of the Dutch East Indies, maybe Dutch Suriname and some Caribbean islands, over here if you know a good chunk of stuff. But there's a bunch of other colonies that just don't really, that the Dutch either had for a short enough time, or they just didn't really put as much effort into. They had some Brazilian lands actually. However, Portugal took those in the same war that caused the Dutch to take the Straits of Malacca from them. They had the Cape Colony, which a lot of you guys probably know about as well. They had Suriname, which I'm not sure if I mentioned that already or not, but I don't. And they also had the New Netherlands, which was more or less just New York and parts of Pennsylvania and Maryland. Oh, and it looks like a pretty big war or two is going on over here, over in Ethiopia. And they also had Sri Lanka and some Indian ports and some ports in the island of Taiwan. So yeah, they did have colonies all over the globe, really. But I guess to start, even though this isn't Suriname, I think we can give it a start by just saying this is close enough to it, and taking Trinidad and Tobago, which gives us 9 more divisions. Now, another thing that I really like is you all know that in base game, I'm not sure if I've done this for this series, but I've made a handful of complaints about glitch land, or land that just turns unavailable. Here, that glitch land or unavailable land is actually adding to the realism of this map, so that makes it more or less worthwhile. Oh, and keep in mind our capital is actually down here in Venezuela now, since that's where our only city is. Alright, so as for Dutch Brazil, yeah, I know it was more or less over here. I'm just gonna do a few checks running over some troops to see if Brazil has some other cities that one, and we can go into Brazil now. We can just march right into their capital there, and that capitulates them, giving us Brazil and a good 22 more divisions. Now, yeah, the borders are looking a bit weird with the color difference between the main color and the glitched, unclaimed, whatever that is, land. I think it's because we expanded into those lands and they didn't start like that, or they'd have the clear black border like all of the other borders in the game. But I'm really not sure. So our capital is still actually in Venezuela. And well, for the sake of this being in, instead of just counting this haphazardly as Dutch Suriname in Brazil, we might as well expand into what was actually Dutch Suriname in Brazil here. I don't think they're going to push us back. Yeah, no, they're not going to with that amount of troops. Alright, so off the checklist we have all the Dutch South American lands. I don't think it's really necessary to go into a couple small islands, because island hopping in this game is very tedious and annoying. Alright, now as for the New Netherlands, okay, we are going to want to take New England. So let's get military access over to the American Commonwealth here. Let's get ourselves over to a tile border with New York City. Let's declare war on New England. Let's move into the tile of New York City, and that capitulates them. Depending on how long this takes, we might go back later just to take the American Commonwealth down. But for now, we're just calling that all the Dutch lands in North America. Plus, those borders aren't even close to what they actually really were. Alright, so I know that the Dutch had some ports in West Africa, but I don't remember where, I don't remember what country on this map that those would correspond to, and I don't really know if they were that relevant enough that they need to be mapped here. So to give ourselves a border with South Africa, or I guess the Cape Colony, and what it's about to be, let's change our deployment location down here. Let's wait for those troops to train up, and let's go into Cape Town. Alright, that gives us 56 Division. Oh, you're just able to go through those lands. Alright, well, that's their entire military gone, and that is South Africa taken. So that counts as the Dutch Cape Colony. And what do we really have left here? Alright, I think that before we absolutely forget, let's just take the Dutch European lands here, which would be inside of what would be Burgundy. Alright, so that's more or less what the Dutch had over in Europe. And did that actually give us 30 more divisions, or was that from the Cape also and I just didn't notice? So I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this one, but I believe that the Dutch had some sort of a Gulf colony at some point. So let's go into the Gulf just to, I mean, it doesn't hurt to take a little extra land in this. Actually, it may hurt, but that's if it causes an issue with Indian nation's naval invading us. But that's fine. As for taking actual ports in India, I don't really see that as a necessity. For this, we can just go and grab, you can use that as a representation of ports in India. We can go now into Sri Lanka and figure out where those troops just all went. We can see that the American Commonwealth has declared war on us, and are they going to be naval invading? No, and they have barely advanced into our territory before we have taken down enough of their troops that they will be able to capitulate. So we didn't even need to really turn around and go back into the American Commonwealth later. They declared war on us before. It was really all too important to declare war on them. Alright, so now that's going to be all the North American lands. Now, the Dutch actually did have the city of Nagasaki, however, I don't really see that as that important to take all of Japan for a singular city here. So let's just quickly take Taiwan. Let's get ourselves some military access into Siam. And we'll start on the Dutch East Indies now. Alright, and that is, well, Malaysia. Do they have any cities remaining anywhere? No, they have some troops left in the Philippines for no reason. I believe they're most likely at war somewhere or other. Let's just send these troops down into Indonesia proper. Alright, that is Indonesia capitulated. No, is Malaysia going to capitulate anytime soon? Did they take some of our colonies somewhere and I just did not happen to notice? No, it doesn't look like they did. So let's also take the island of Java. Alright, that's them capitulated as well. And well, Malaysia is just not capitulating. I don't want to bother with all that. We don't really need to bother with getting just like West Papua either. So I think that honestly we've reunited the Dutch Empire more or less, and this challenge is complete. Thank you all for watching, and see you guys in the next one. Bye.